All right, so on your notes, I want you to write this formula, I equals PRT. This is on your formula chart. I don't have one open right now. Here's 7th grade. Let's see. Yep. And I know you guys have this access on your star chart or in Canvas, but right here, Rosie, do you see that it says simple interest? Can you not read that far? Zion, do you see it says simple interest?
Yeah.
Okay, and then it's I equals PRT. So this formula will be on your star chart. You won't have to memorize it. It'll be there for you. Does that make sense? Okay. And from that, the I stands for interest. Do you need another folder? They give you one. Okay. Just let me know if you change your mind. I stands for interest. P stands for principal. R stands for rate. And T stands for time. I'd like you to write those down. I is interest. P is principal. R is rate. T is time. Okay. A couple things about this. Interest is how we are making up things. Interest is how we are making our money, whether it's owing money or investing money. For today's terms, we're going to be talking about investing money. The P, or the word principal. Principal is going to be your initial amount. P, or principal, is going to be your initial amount. That's how much money you are investing or how much money you are putting into an account. P is principal, your initial amount. P is principal, your initial amount. R is the rate, and rate is always going to be given to you in a percentage. So if you're making 3.5% back, that's your rate of 3.5%. So rate is going to always be given to you as your percent, and that's how much money you are making off of this. So P is principal, which is your initial amount. R is rate, which is how much money you're making off, or how much it's growing at. And finally, T is time. And time is always going to be found in years. Time is always going to be found in years. Time is always going to be found in years. Now, I have a question for you. This is not for basketball card, this is just a math question. What operations are you doing between these three numbers? Read. Multiplication. So y'all, once you're given the three options, you're just going to multiply them all together. What's the best thing about multiplication?
Easy.
It's easy. That's fair. It doesn't matter what order you do them in. If it's all multiplication, it's just this times this times this, or that times that times that, or this times that times this, or that times this times this. Sound good? Okay. I equals interest. Ruger, what does P stand for?
The initial amount.
The initial amount. Josh, what does the R stand for? How much money you're gaining, the rate that it's occurring at. And what does T stand for, Anthony? The time. And time is always found in what? In years. In years. Always in years. Okay. So, from this, a bank is offering 2.5 simple interest. Okay, before I even continue with this conversation, what letter does this 2.5 represent? The I, the P, the R, or the T? The I, the P, the R, or the T? What is that 2.7? What is it?
R.
Good.
R.
The 2.5 is my rate. If you deposit $5,000, what does that $5,000 represent?
The principal.
The principal, or my initial amount. How much interest will you earn in 1 year? What does that 1 represent? My time. All right, y'all, so let me set this problem up. I equals 5,000. Do we agree that I'm substituting in the P with 5,000? Okay, now I have a question for you guys, though. Rate is at 2.5%. I can't multiply a percent by there. Yesterday, when we were talking about percentages, what were we doing with the decimal? Does anybody remember how many times we were moving the decimal each time we used it? Read.
2 times.
2 times what direction?
Left.
To the left. So we're going to do the same thing, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to take our 2.5. We're going to move it 2 places or 100 because it's percent out of 100 to give us 0.025. Is everybody okay with that? Any questions on how I did that? Isaac, does that make sense? Ruger, does that make sense? Nathan? Okay, perfect. And then finally, times time. My time is always in year, and how many years am I going to invest this for? 1 year. Okay, guys, what do you have to do next? Multiply them all together. Go. Multiply all three of those numbers together for me. Do it. Do it. Raise your hand when you got an answer for me. 2, 3, 4. I need 8 people before we move on. Once I have 8 hands up, we're good. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. All right, perfect. Mariah, what'd you get?
125.
125. So that means that they would earn $125 on their initial investment. So when it says how much interest would you earn, the answer is 125. Do we agree with that? When it says what is the total amount in the account, how would you figure out the total amount in the account? What would you have to do to figure out the total amount? It's not a trick question. It's not a trick question. What would you have to do to figure out the total amount? Reed, what do you think?
Yeah, them all together.
Yeah, I'm going to take my 5,000, my initial amount, and I'm going to add that to 125. And I get $5,125. Are we good with that? Questions there? Easy enough, right? All right, go, I'm going to erase this one. Let's look at number 2. Anybody have any questions for me on that, or is that pretty straightforward?
Pretty straightforward.
Okay? I mean, it is called simple interest, so I hope it's simple. Get it? No pun intended.
I'm laughing.
I don't know if it makes it worse when I ask you guys to laugh at my jokes and you laugh, or when you just don't laugh at my jokes originally. I don't know which one's worse, but we'll just keep it going.
Definitely the big laugh.
That's so funny.
Someone had a really good fake laugh over there. It was like, ha 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 ha. I don't know who it was, but it was good. Again, no one's laughing at my jokes. Okay. To buy a car, Jessica borrowed $15,000 for 3 years at an annual simple interest of 9%. All right, someone, raise your hand. Tell me, what is the formula I'm dealing with here? What is the formula I'm looking at? What is the formula? Rosie, what's the formula? Simple interest equals principal times rate times time. We good there? Isaac, you ready? To buy a car, Jessica borrowed $15,000. What's that $15,000 going to be? The P, the R, or the T?
The rate.
Not the rate. Can anybody help them out? Jackson, what's it going to be? The P, my principal. That's the initial amount, the money that we're starting with. For 3 years, what is that 3 years going to be? What's my 3 years going to be? Isaac.
The time.
The time, very good. At a rate of 9%, which is going to be my rate. Okay, so let's write these out. So we're going to have interest equals 15,000 times my rate of 9%. How do I convert 9% into a decimal or something that we can actually use in this problem? Come on, we just did our last one. What do we have to do? Only Reed knows? Ruger, what do I have to do? Now we're going to have 0.09. And And then how many years are we doing this for? 9 years?
3 years.
3 years. Okay, how do you solve this problem now?
Multiple.
Multiply them all together. All right, you multiply them, I'll multiply them, we'll come back together. All right, when I multiplied them all together, I got 4,020.
I got 4,050.
4,050?
Yeah.
I could have done my math wrong.
Because for 9 times 5, you put a 4. 45. You put
Cool.
44, not 45.
Great. All right, 4,050. Do we agree it's 4,050?
Yeah.
And then it says how much will she have to pay total? So it's the 15,000 the initial plus the 4,050, which is $19,050. We good there? All right, awesome. Let me check on our Zoom ins real quick.